same channel to develop in Armenia.
Hello again. In Russian and I beginning. Грузия в многополярном мире в контексте политических и экономических перспектив. После развала Советского Союза в 1991 году прекратила свое существование полярная система мирового.
Bipolar system of the world geopolitical order ceased, and that was a certain tragedy for the whole world. In the ensuing geopolitical changes, there was a transformation. And the political system as a result of which the hegemony of the West was established. Euro-Atlantic alliance led by the U.S. De facto, the U.S. became the only owner of the unipolar world, and Georgia and the whole Caucasus region found themselves in the same paradigm. So, the geopolitical situation was shifted to the benefit of the Euro-Atlantics in Georgia. A pro-Western, liberal, political and financial elite emerged, in part opportunistic, not ideologically pro-Western, as we're seeing now in other countries of the post-Soviet space, including here in Armenia. Tbilisi, over 30 years, carried out or pursued only one vector of its foreign policy, the Euro-Atlantic vector, which very negatively influenced the overall domestic and foreign political situation in Georgia. We lost 25% of our territory. Abkhaidze and South Ossetia became our conflict regions, and because of that Euro-Atlantic vector, we cannot engage in a full dialogue with Russia and the other regional countries, which could act as a guarantor of the regulation of these conflicts. Now, global politics have significantly changed in the last 2 or 3 years, in particular after the special military operation began in the Ukraine, and there's an active process of emergence of the new world order. That is a multipolar world, and in this situation, the catastrophic consequences that existed for the post-Soviet space as a result of the collapse and the emergence of the unipolar world can now be gradually fixed. So we've got a chance to carry out a multipolar, multi-vector, call it C. The multipolar world is a guarantor of security and equality and partnership of countries based on equal rights and international law in accordance with the principles of international law. And that's very important for Georgia, because for a small country which wants to maintain its identity, traditions, religion, and to pursue its sovereign domestic foreign policy, a multipolar world gives these opportunities. A unipolar world does not give such opportunities, because there's the hegemony of only one state and its allies, referring to the U.S. and its allies, Euro-Atlanticists. The South Caucasus was historically always a center of world geopolitics, and historically regional players always wanted to strengthen their national interests in this region. Refer primarily to Russia, because it is the hegemony country. Such regional players as Turkey, not a small country, given its autonomy and its foreign policy. Iran also, of course, want to pursue or rather influence this region. And now, another active joiner in the process is China, which is very intensively pursuing its interests in Georgia. In the period after the collapse of the Soviet Union, the role and significance of this region in a unipolar world grew significantly. But had its negative sides as well. Now that the situation has changed, there are new possibilities of conducting multilateral policies implementing new economic projects.
Что касается
These projects
они очень разнообразны сейчас, и возможности
are very diverse and
появляются очень большие.
they're just giving ample opportunity, but
Этим возможностям
these opportunities
полноценного осуществления своих политических и
are
экономических
fully
целей сейчас мешает
getting other political
и не только Грузия
goals, the percent its goals is now undermined by the factor of ethnic conflicts that are not resolved. Conflicts with the de facto regions. Apkhaidze, South Ossetia, for Armenia, the problem that has not been fully resolved yet. De facto, over 30 years. A partial blockade, because it couldn't carry out engaging full economic ties. And the same was true for the conflict regions of Apkhaidze and South Ossetia. The transit paths that go through South Ossetia and Apkhaidze are fully closed, and they do not allow trade and economic ties with the neighboring countries. The projects which are carried out by China, the Road One Belt, because Georgia is historically part of the Silk Road, and if the road is not opened, the railroad is not opened by Apkhaidze, then it will certainly, it could certainly not be possible for anyone, China, for the countries of the region of Georgia to carry out these projects. In this situation, there's still the problem of Armenia with Turkey and Azerbaijan, which has not been fully solved. It also gets in the way of implementing these projects, so these issues need to be dealt with. As to the geopolitical changes in the last 2 years, sharply accelerating, and talking about the middle corridor, the Caspian International Transportation Corridor, which passes through Central Asia and connects China with Europe. From the start of the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, there's growing demand for that corridor because cargo from India, cargo from Iran is supposed to enter branches. European part, they need very little logistics and they need this possibility. And the middle corridor allows this. And Central Asian countries also can take this for transporting their oil products, energy resources, and hydrocarbons. And there's another aspect. Agricultural produce also needs this corridor, and this corridor plays a huge role. And now, there's a possibility of carrying out a multi-vector policy and a multi-polar world with the emerging new geopolitical system. And in this paradigm, Georgia, of course, can develop a geopolitical line in line with its interests and change its foreign policy vector, which would serve the benefit of our economy. As to the north-south route, the vehicles for cars as well as rail, where Georgia is not the only country. Armenia also plays a huge role here. We need to collaborate with Armenia in order to diversify our opportunities and to carry out fundamental work in terms of work, and this is primarily in Iran's interests, because we understand that Azerbaijan is a strategic partner of Turkey, and at times Turkey and Iran diverging interests or set differences on ideological and strategic matters, on foreign policy matters. And to north-south, there's that route, which is very important for Russia as well. Here, Georgia can gain, as it can also gain from the middle corridor, significant financial dividends and preferences, including political ones. Any such project would in the future contribute to the regulation of these and other conflicts in the region. Let me now speak about Georgia and China. It is a very interesting phenomenon because Georgia-China relationship, so you don't understand, this is a strategic relationship. We signed an agreement with China. It's nonsensical because there is international law collision because Georgia's constitution says Euro-Atlantic journey, entering NATO. And in that same situation, this year, our Prime Minister, former Mr. Irakli Radibashvili, signed a strategic agreement with China for a strategic partnership. This is not about free trade, which gives ample opportunity to Georgia to trade, engage in foreign trade relations with trade with China, but a strategic partnership. I mean, geopolitical experts can think deep. What would this mean? This basically dismantles the whole system, the geopolitical system. It's a totally new picture because Georgia's leadership is taking decisions contrary to its constitution. Understanding the political reality that currently exists in Georgia, not just in Georgia, but the whole world, Georgia's leadership reformatted itself in a timely manner and did not continue the journey that we struck the journey that Saakashvili's regime had adopted. Not fully multi-vector, but balanced policy in the national interest, and every country should pursue its be governed by its sovereign interests, national interests, act in accordance with the sovereignty in its constitution. Turning to the infrastructure projects that we have with China, Georgia has this one road, one belt. China is actively investing in the infrastructure projects in Georgia. It's not 1 or 2 billion, it's already more than $10 billion. It's very important. It's extremely important because China, of course, is firstly taking care of its geopolitical tasks. Because these investments, of course, are to the benefit of development of the state. Let's now talk about Georgia and the EU. If we trade with the EU as well, we signed it back in 2014, the DCFTA, and so we can trade with the EU easily. That's not really true because it's one-way trade. The EU, without quotas, without any limitations, can bring any product to Georgia. Georgia has certain quotas. If we look at the trend now, the numbers are as high. 2019, $2 billion, $240 million. 2020, $1 billion, $800. That's what you don't understand. I mean, export and import combined is total foreign trade. 2021, $2 billion, 2022, $2 billion, 2023. The number is growing. Georgia is mostly importing equipment, cars from China. It's also because Russia is under sanctions, and this private import via Georgia to Russia of certain goods. That's why you see this growth in numbers. So the EU is getting more dividends than Georgia is getting. Small country, although we've declared we're moving in that direction. But that's a formality. It's not reality. The political reality, the objective reality is quite different. And now turning to investments, of course, with the EU. I won't give you all the details now. Investment influx to Georgia and how it changed. Smallest is 2020, $300 million. 2021, investment in Georgia's economy, $900 million. The leader among European states is Spain, $360 million, followed by the Netherlands. Netherlands, okay? $196 million. Ireland, $120 million. It's striking, right? These small, tiny countries investing more than Germany or France or the others. Tourism indicators, quite interesting. Georgia significantly saw a significant reduction in tourism during the pandemic. In the last 9 months, 2024, 54% increase in tourism number of visitors to Georgia over the same period in 2023. The numbers are in 2019, 480,000, 2020, 70,000 because of the pandemic, then 2020 an increase to 130,000, 2020 to 130,000, and in 9 months of 2023 for the whole year, 329,000. So those are not big numbers for Georgia. I mean, if you think of the total statistics of the numbers of visitors, it's 6 to 10 million, and it's mostly the neighboring countries: Russia, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, post-Soviet, mostly. Very low number with the U.S., although I mean, strategic partners, but they don't really strive to visit Georgia. That's pretty odd. Yeah, then we can move on. Georgia, Russia, trade between Georgia and Russia. Really the biggest trade economic partner for Georgia is Russia. The new statistics, I'll share the numbers with you. 2023, Russia and Georgia for 70% of the food produce, oil produce, and the energy resources come in from Russia. Logistics and geography combined. Geography, impossible to change because we cannot import oil and gas from the U.S. and we cannot buy Canadian wheat to Georgia. It's too expensive, unreasonable. The bread would cost $10 a kilo. Can't afford that. We don't live in the UK where bread costs 3 or 4 pounds and they can afford it. It's a different reality for us. As to remittances, Russia is the leader again. Russia is the leader, and they, in the first quarter of this year, 480 million. These numbers are in billions. 1.5, 2 billion remittances, electronic remittances per year. Mostly, Georgia is living in the territory of Russia, 4th, 5th generation. People who left after the 90s did not terminate their ties and are still sending money. The number is also growing. The number of Russian relicants is very high, 300 to 400,000, slightly less now in Georgia. They're really getting in the way. People are pretty liberal, mostly, so they have some crazy mythical ideas normally, and are destructive. They support our destructive opposition, and they create an unfavorable situation. But what can you do? Georgia is a democratic country, and they live in our country. They even take part in the protest actions, because even though they're not citizens of Georgia, but they're contributing to economic growth too. They also get remittances. They also get money transferred to them. They also create public good. They also create they also produce and create good in Georgia. Not much. But Russia is the main foreign trade partner. The main foreign trade partner, continuing trade and economic ties, and they cannot be discontinued. Under Saakashvili, we lost the Russian market, but had a very negative impact on our economy. Our alcohol produce, our agriculture produce, basically stopped entering the Russian market, which really hurt Georgia's budget. In 2015, when there was a comeback, we came back to that market. We started to restore Russian-Georgian relationships. It was very hard for us to enter that market again. That segment of the Georgian market, the lower to middle to premium segments, had been occupied by others in Russia. Fortunately, things are getting better now, and it's very positively influencing the Georgian economy. Really big growth is coming up, 2.5% GDP growth, and 3, even 4% some years. Very tiny Georgia, that's a huge plus. And I'll tell you now who the top 3 exporters and importers to and from Georgia are. That's important also to know. Azerbaijan, top exporter. Every year we're getting from Azerbaijan 862 million. Armenia is next, 787 million. Kazakhstan, 703 million. I'm talking about Russia, but the other segment now. Other importers and exporters, Russia's out of competition. The top 3 import countries, Turkey, 2,507,000,000, followed by the U.S., 1,900,000,000. And why do we have these numbers with the U.S.? From Georgia, parallel imports entering Russia. It's very important to know that it's just cars, nothing else imported to Georgia. It's all cars. Because Georgia is a transit country, re-exporting via Georgia, and the re-exportation is the reason for those numbers. Do not think that these are strong trade economic ties producing a huge amount of money for Georgia. No. It's all because of that trade, and these are different countries. It's not coming into Georgia's budget. It's entering Georgia's territory and then transited out, followed next by Russia, 1,700,000,000. Let me talk about the 3+3 format. Why is it important not just for Georgia but also for Armenia? This format entails more of a political nature for regional countries, more so than economic, but it has huge significance for Georgia, but not just for Georgia. The 3+3 can yield much economic outcome. Georgia can get from this format large financial dividends. It's a platform where one can discuss new projects, where one could collaborate with the neighboring countries, including Russia, the country with which we do not have official diplomatic relationships. And it's very bad that our leadership are still slowing down this process, not taking part in that format, but they should, because otherwise we cannot deal with it. If there's no dialogue, the problem will not get solved. 2008 showed to us that military policies, conflicts for the return of territory are destructive for a small country like Georgia. We rather lost more, and in return, our territories got recognized by the others, and this now is a huge problem for us. That the recognition of these territories happened. Now, in a way, we need to deal with it in a different context. To really see, as I said already, is undermined by this political aspect that needs to be dealt with one way or another. As to Armenia, Armenia also could, over 30 years, has been in a blockade, and ways have to be found. It is in Armenia's interest. I'm not saying Armenia should give up on its national interests, its own security, but Armenia has this paradigm where the country could take part in these formats, not to the detriment of its interests. But then you need geopolitical grandmasters, and unfortunately the Caucasus doesn't have too many of those. Very few such specialists and politicians. They're mostly they're biased more than impartial, driven by reality. Any leader, any politician, of course, should pursue a domestic and foreign policy in the interest of the nation, not in their own egocentric political interests, because that just is not consistent with the geopolitical system or state governance system, and the political system does not recognize it, therefore it's not politics. As I said already, the 3+3 format, why is this so important? Big countries regional big players taking part in it. 3 small ones, Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Georgia, and the 3 big ones, Iran, Turkey, and Russia. And here, of course, we could use this format. Why not? So now, the finale, multipolar world in Georgia. The multipolar political system influenced Georgia positively, as I said already. We now can already examine or consider accession in international organizations that do not belong to the Euro-Atlantic bloc. It's important that we can speak about it already. There's the signed agreement on strategic partnership with China, evidencing this. Experts and politicians in Tbilisi are now openly discussing accession into the Eurasian Economic Union, the Customs Union, the CSTO even is considered. That's, of course, in our national interest, the consideration of these questions. Because we have an unresolved problem with Abkhazia and Ossetia. Unlike the European, the Eurasian space allows maintaining our identity, and we can solve our problems, our economic and political problems. But there's a big and small obstacle. For over 30 years, Georgia engaged in a pro-Western Euro-Atlantic policy, and all reforms were carried out in accordance with these standards. The country has now formed a governance system in line with these standards. The army, the police, law enforcement, it even harmonized the legal and regulatory framework. And for us now to change our vector and to start integrating with the Eurasian structures, we certainly need to change all of that. It won't happen overnight. It's a matter of question of time. Specialists need to work on this and change the whole political system. Subsequently, then, to integrate with these structures. Importantly, also for Georgia, to examine the possibility of joining BRICS and the relationship with the global South, giving Georgia ample opportunity. That's all I had to share with you about Georgia.